Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be going over my top baits for March, especially here in the Midwest. These are going to work all over the country, but especially here in the Midwest because it's completely different than other parts. Right now in Illinois where I'm at, there is still ice and a majority of the snow melted today because it's 50 degrees, but you can still see there's some behind me. And other than that, the ponds and lakes should be unfrozen here within the next week because it's going to be 50 degrees for the next week after it just got done being 0 for the past month. But I'm going to talk about 5 to 10 baits in this video that I love to use in March. And a few of them are techniques that used to be way more popular and they're not as popular anymore. And I still get a ton of fish on them, especially now because not as many people are using them. So I'm gonna head inside where the lighting is a little bit better and show you guys these lures close up and talk about them more in depth. So stay tuned. So now that I'm inside, I'm gonna talk about a bunch of these baits and go over what I think is possibly the best bait to throw in March if you're looking for strictly big fish. A lot of these baits are great for where I live, which is Illinois. So here in the Midwest, it is extremely cold still in March a lot of the time. The nights are still going to be getting down to the 20s, which means that the water temp is not rising much because when the night is cold, the water temp barely changes. We still have ice here right now as of today, but within the next week or so, it should come off because it is 50 degrees, which is way better than how it has been. I'm going to get right into talking about the bait. Whenever I'm showing certain ones, after I show them to this camera right here, I'm going to be showing them close up. So my face will move down to a little face cam in the corner, so you guys will be seeing that. Now, the first bait I'm going to be talking about is a spinnerbait, and now you can't really lump a spinnerbait into one group because there's so many different variants of it, especially when the water is cold, that are like relevant. And a lot of people moved on to just throwing chatterbaits, but I still love throwing a spinnerbait because I grew up catching a ton of fish on it, and it's basically my dad's favorite lure, and he uses it every month of the year. So during March, I'll be using 2 different types of spinnerbaits, and the first one being a like straight tail willow blade, a little bit more compact, smaller spinnerbait like this Megabass SV3 here with a freeloader in the back. And now this trailer basically has no action. And this bait is not going to be super aggressive, but you can't reel it super slow because it'll sink. It catches a ton of great fish, but one thing that I like to do, and this basically is the lure I was talking about in the intro where I said it targets a ton of giant fish, and that is throwing a gigantic spinnerbait. This is a 1/2 ounce Colorado blade, double Colorado blade spinnerbait here, and I love the chartreuse white color. And on the back here, I just put a giant Kalen's grub. Whenever you put this grub on the back, it allows you to reel it so slow to the point where there's so much drag on this that you can literally crawl it as slow as you want and have it in the water column wherever you want. And this thing puts off so much vibration that a lot of these times, this is the best lure you can use in some of these super muddy lakes in the spring. And around here, whenever the water starts to warm up, it's because of warm rain. So that means that the water is going to be dirty. And this is insanely good for right whenever it starts to warm up. I've caught some very large fish in March on this bait. Next, we have another bait that is also not as popular as it used to be, but that is Lipless crankbaits. I really like the Lucky Craft LV500, and then of course the Strike King Red Eye Shad. I really like the Tungsten 2-tap. I feel like they've heard a billion different Liplesses that make the super high-pitched sound like this. And then if you take a Tungsten 2-tap, it sounds like this. So that's just something slightly different the fish might not have seen. If you do have grass in your lakes this time of year, which all the ones around here do not because it died, at least the good grass did. So the Lipless is great for ripping out of grass, but it's also great to fish around literally everything, open water, rocks, everything. So definitely try throwing one. You can yo-yo it, which a lot of people do. I like to reel it insanely slow to where you basically are only feeling the vibration a little bit. Like you want to basically slow it down to where you don't feel vibration and just speed it up until you do feel it and just crawl it. That's a great way for when it's still this cold. Then the next one I'm going to talk about is a chatterbait, but specifically a fire crawl red chatterbait. I really throw a chatterbait all year round basically and crawl it super slow. This time of year I absolutely love the red one. Last spring I was catching an absolute ton of fish on this exact bait right here with just any red trailer on the back. This is a super underrated lure in this color. At least everybody knows about his chatterbait, but not everybody throws it in red. Another option you can do is, if they've all seen a million chatterbaits, you could throw one without a skirt. This is just the Jika chatter, and it's got this weight, and you put any plastic you want on there, and it's got this like plastic polycarbonate, I guess, blade. So it's not gonna be throwing off as much vibration as say like the metal blade on a jackhammer. So this is definitely gonna be more finesse. You can crawl this super slow too. So just something different this time of year could be all it takes also. Next we have one that I talk about all the time in every one of my videos, and that is flat-sided crankbaits. Absolutely love these things, and these work great in the winter, which it still is here. March is definitely really not even the spring. It's definitely still winter where I live in Illinois. So a flat-sided crankbait is insanely good because of the lack of vibration it puts off. Either use one with no rattles like this one, the Rapala Tiny 4, or use one with, I like the tungsten 2-tap rattles like I said in the Liplesses, but this 6th Sense one has just small or bigger and deeper rattles, and that's just something different for these fish. But also, other ones you can use are smaller, tiny, like junior size. Flat sides work great this time of year. And also the Rapala DT6, which is an absolutely insane lure. This thing in a crawl pattern just catches an insane amount of fish. It dives 6 feet. Don't use it in 6 feet. At least that's what I do. I throw it in less than that and just hit it into every single rock you can, and it drives them crazy. These aren't considered a true flat side, but they're definitely not a round side. They don't have as wide of a wobble as like a full round square bill, so I consider them a flat side. Then we've got what you guys have heard a million times to use when it's cold out from everybody, but that is of course a jerkbait. And my favorite ones are the one in the middle that's hanging there. That is a Lucky Craft pointer, and any size. I like the smaller ones, but that lure I've had for literally 10 years and I've caught fish on it every single March. And then the Megabass Vision 110 and the Vision 110 Junior are also great. I like a more transparent one whenever the water is a little bit clearer. So a lot of these ponds around here, until we get a bunch of rain, are super clear. So something like this works great. And then you've got ones like the White Butterfly and the Matte Shad that are good for dirtier water. And this month I will start to speed up a little bit and not sit there for 8 to 10 seconds whenever I'm waiting on a pause. You can wait more like 5 now and still catch fish. Next we've got like kind of a category, and I would say that is like paddle tail swim baits, and this is on an underspin. I really like underspins, and I just throw a 3.3 or a 3.8. Even a smaller Kitech, anything on an underspin is great. These literally catch every fish in your lake. And then of course you've got just a jig head with the paddle tail on it itself, and this is super underrated because I already switched to throwing a minnow, and the just ball head paddle tail lost its popularity, I guess, in a lot of places, but this thing still catches a ton of fish. And the underspin is definitely for if you have a little bit more stained water, because this is barely any vibration, and then you got that blade that's a little bit more flash. So if you guys have dirtier water, definitely try the underspin. Then we have jigs, but I would still say that for here, down south, I know you guys already are way warmer, but for here I like throwing these smaller jigs. Now this is a Beast Coast tungsten jig, and it is super tiny. Like, I don't know how to show how big it is, but here it is like next to this like 3.3 inch Kitech. It is extremely small. These super little jigs, just throw like a 3-inch chigger craw on the back, or another super finesse craw. Even like a Ned rig worm a lot of times works great on a jig. These super small jigs are just a little bit more finesse and get you a few more bites this time of year. So if you're struggling to catch fish, I would definitely try downsizing to a smaller jig. And then for the last bait I'm going to be talking about, this is a blade bait. Now, there's several ways you can fish this, and this is super popular in the winter here, but especially in the spring when the water is still in the 30s and even the low 40s, this definitely still makes a play. And I really like the Demiki Vault. I really like the Demiki Vault and the one that Spro makes, but those hooks on the Spro one are terrible, so make sure you change them. This thing is impossible to hold. I really like to reel this like I was talking about the Lipless, to where you literally slow it down to where you cannot feel it vibrate, and then you reel it to where it does start vibrating, and that's about it, just super slow. Or you can do how everyone else fishes a blade bait, where you just rip it once and then let it sink, and then rip it and then let it sink. But here there's too much garbage on the bottoms, like just the disgusting slime grass is everywhere here still. So have to keep this off the bottom. Definitely try super slow rolling this, just like a Lipless. That is going to be it for the video. That is all I have to say about baits to use in March, but basically it's finally starting to warm up here. Ponds should be unfrozen soon. They were unfrozen for a little bit in early February, but now it is freezing again, or it was freezing again. Now it's 55 degrees. It's gonna be 60 tomorrow, which is absolutely insane. So the bite should pick up and the fish should start biting. And the fishing videos should pick back up soon, but the talking videos are gonna have to do for now. And the next one should be a fishing video. We're gonna go muskie fishing tomorrow. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.